Welcome to the Health Trip Podcast. My name is Jill Foose. I'm a functional medicine and integrative nutrition health coach. I created this podcast to bring you along as we travel down intriguing, science-packed roads, debunking old medical paradigms and perusing new innovative therapies and modalities with the finest functional medicine doctors, practitioners, and like-minded biohackers while living our best life. Enjoy the show. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Health Trip Podcast. Today, I'm talking about something a little bit different, not something medical, but something beautiful. And it's all about applying makeup. And we're going to talk about skincare too, but really, I have this goal for myself this year, and it's really learning how to apply makeup in a very easy and natural way. And I just want to have a very finished, polished look. I speak a lot in person. I'm on Zoom a lot doing presentations, and I just want a very finished look. And of course, when I go on TV, I always have a makeup artist who does it, and I try to pick up tips here and there, but that kind of makeup is very different from your everyday kind of makeup. And so I have brought on someone who is unbelievable. I discovered her a few months ago and just have such a girl crush on her. Her name is Melissa Coleman, and she goes by the IG handle of Mrs. Derm. So you may have heard of her. She's got over 100,000 followers on Instagram. And here's the reason why, because she tells the truth. She's not affiliated with any skincare companies. She's not affiliated with any makeup companies. And she's married to a board certified dermatologist who also is really honest about his direction on lasers and skincare. And so, you know me, I'm all about no bullshit. So I love no bullshit people. And Melissa is one of those people. And she has built a devoted following of women who are just done being sold expensive nonsense and ready to really know what actually works. And I'm one of those people. She calls herself an ouster of bullshit and a lover of pretty skin, and she really means it. Cosmetic marketing executives are not her fans. Her audience absolutely adores her. So with zero tolerance for Photoshop and gimmicks or the kind of vague wellness advice that sounds good but does nothing, Melissa cuts through the noise on everything from affordable skincare routines, yay, to which in-office treatments are actually worth your money. And this is so important too, to which ones are just worth someone else's commission. So many women I work with are navigating the noise on social media about what to do and what not to do for head to toe treatments. And Melissa is here to at least bring us some real truths and her experience in terms of what's going to work for us and what's not. So she's not a dermatologist, so no medical advice here, but she is something arguably more useful for this kind of conversation. The woman who lives with one and asks all the questions you want to ask and translates the answers into plain English without the upsell. So these are the people I want on my podcast, right? So just a short medical disclaimer before we dive in. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice or to make any lifestyle changes to treat any medical condition in yourself or others. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. And this entire disclaimer also applies to any of my guests on my podcast. So sit back, open your mind, and let's dive into the world of beautiful, easy, and affordable makeup. Hey, Melissa, welcome to the Health Trip Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say I am so happy that I found you online. And I think I found you online through Dr. Gendler because I follow her too. And you are exactly who I need in my life right now, because before this year, I was really uninterested in wearing makeup. I have a great skincare routine. I have a great exercise routine. You know, I'm a health coach, right? I'm dialed
Right.
into all of it for decades, but makeup like literally went from that. I swear people have a genetic makeup who know how to apply makeup because my mom rocks it and my daughter rocks it. So it just like soared over me.
Like skip that generation.
It totally skipped me. And I just, I was a tomboy and I grew up with horses in a barn. And I never even like thought about it. Even like I didn't get my nails done until I was pregnant with my fourth of five kids, right? Everything was just super late for me. And now that I'm 58, I'm really interested in how to just complete the look, match the
Right.
inside to the outside.
Right. I grew up, my mother, I think I grew up from a long line of Southern women who, you put, you put your face on, right? It's just what you did. I told a story once that my grandmother, when I would wake up in the morning, I was a 6-year-old little girl, and she would let me do her makeup every single day. And she had
Oh.
like from the 80s, do you remember those huge palettes that would come out, like the Elizabeth
Mhm.
Arden, like giant gift sets and stuff like that? And she would just let me play. And I distinctly remember putting like mint green eyeshadow on her and like a red lip. And, but it was every single morning. And she's like, you got to help me get my face on. We got to start our day. So I was, 6 years old. I think I bought my first tube of lipstick shortly thereafter.
And so you were already like it was just natural to you. I'm curious, did you have sisters or brothers?
I have a brother. I have an older brother who's like 15 months older than me, and you know, of no influence there. He's great, but
Yeah, yeah.
my mom less so. She was a makeup girl, but she was, I don't know, she was more of a skincare junkie. And it's funny now because I think back on it and the amount of money and time she would spend on her skincare and toners and moisturizers and eye creams and things like that, and none of it worked. So it was really, she aged, you know, fairly, I would say. But she was more so a skincare person, the potions and things like that. My grandmother was a makeup girl.
So you're the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is a great place to start is skincare because I actually do love skincare. I love my morning routine. I look forward to my evening routine. We'll get to the makeup soon, but let's just start with skincare because
Sure.
when women are in their 50s and navigating menopause, and I'm on the other side of menopause, um, it can be really confusing out there on first of all we're looking in the mirror and our skin is changing, we're seeing more wrinkles, maybe more sunspots, our texture is different, the volume is different. I've definitely
Drier, usually.
drier for sure. And so where does a woman start if she's essentially starting from scratch in her mid 50s?
I think that, you know, it's purposely confusing, right? So my skincare routine today will be absolutely no different than my skincare routine in 10 years or 20 years. It's going to be the same thing. I think it's purposely confusing in the sense that, it's a multi-billion dollar industry to sell women on the idea that moisturizer is going to fix their problems,
Mhm.
right? So moisturizer is going to fix wrinkles and sagging skin and puffy eyes and all those things. And in reality, moisturizer doesn't do anything. Like I always tell women, moisturizer is the least important decision you're going to make for your skin every single day.
Hmm.
And they'll say, what moisturizer do you use? And I'm like, I literally don't care. Like pick a my father-in-law who's sort of this legend in Derm, said to me, not too long ago, but he said, you show me a woman with red, bloated, irritated skin who's complaining about pore size, and I will show you someone who's using too much moisturizer.
Hmm.
And so the belief that I've always sort of held was that moisturizers, you know, when someone says, which one do you use? And I said, well, do you need one? Right? Like, first of all, answer that question. Do you need one? Today it's, I'm in New York City, it's 80 degrees, it's kind of humid outside. I don't need a moisturizer today. I live in New Orleans year round. There are months out of the year that I never pick up a moisturizer ever, because it's kind of one of those things that we've been so schooled in: get up, wash face, moisturize, right? Eye cream, neck cream, chest cream, hand cream, arm cream, whatever,
Right.
that we're just drowning in these creams. And in reality, a lot of times, Patrick would say to you, he used to get one patient a month with perioral dermatitis. He gets 5 a day now. And when he asks them what their skincare routines are, they're heavily loaded down with moisturizers. It's the
Yeah.
Cicaplasts, it's like the big, anything that says rich, anything that says nourishing, anything that says overnight. All of those things, they're just so heavy. And in reality, your skin knows how to moisturize itself. In a lot of ways, it can maintain its own moisture barrier and its own balance. Where it starts to get sort of confusing is when you start adding in active ingredients, exfoliants, retinoids, things like that, that can kind of dry the skin out. So, the first step I always tell women is let's observe these moisturizers. Like, first of all, do you need one? Second of all, how thick of one do you need? Like, do we need one that has the consistency of frosting? Almost never,
Mhm.
do you need one that has the consistency of mayonnaise? Probably not. If you're, pulling it out of a tub, it's probably too thick for you. Unless it's dead of winter, you live in Chicago or Vermont or something like that. And even then, I'd argue, Patrick would argue, I think a lot of derms would argue, you want the lightest weight moisturizer you can
Yeah.
possibly use that does
Yeah.
its job. And some days it's going to be none at all. You'll get as much you'll get as much hydration as you need that your skin can already produce for itself, that you can get from sunscreen. I'm a big fan of hydrators because I like the clear, the more serum type situation than like a heavy moisturizer. So step one to me is like, let's observe what skincare routine you have, which one have you been sold on, that, and then where do we need to adjust from there? Um, the,
You mentioned your husband a couple times. So, um, why don't you share with who your husband is? And because I think that's probably been part of your journey as well, diving deeper into skincare and what works and what doesn't work.
so my husband is a dermatologist. He kind of comes from a little bit of like a Derm family. His father, sort of a legend in dermatology, um, wrote a lot of the books that dermatologists today study from in medical school, pioneered a lot of things. And so he comes from this really strong background. His brother's also a dermatologist. So it's sort of this family of skin. When I met him, I had like a countertop full of La Mer and I owned a Clarisonic. And he was just,
Right.
I just remember him saying about the Clarisonic, like picking it up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these are great. And he said, yeah, there's nothing quite like grinding bacteria into your skin,
Totally.
And I was like, ah. And I remember going to his office and for like Botox, I think I started Botox when I was 31. And I went to his office and it was different because I had gone to another dermatologist in town for acne reasons at one point, or was breaking out. And there was nothing at his office in the sense of like you walk into a lot of derms offices and it looks like kind of a mini Sephora,
Yeah.
shelves and product displays and things like that. And I walk into his office and it was like 2-year-old People magazines and nothing to sell. And I said to him, I was like, God, you guys really need to, sell some stuff. And he's like, never. And to this day, he's the only dermatologist that I know that he sells 2 items in office. One is Retin-A, which is a prescription. So you get you
Right.
fill it there in his office. And 2 is the Coleman compound. But if you ask him for a cleanser or a moisturizer or, anything else, they will hand you a giant bowl up front and you can like fish out a sample. So they have like samples from like Skin Fix, and I think they're going to start getting samples from Prequel and things like that. But like they don't sell because they're like it's just not important. Whatever cleanser you want to use, if it's not stripping your skin or irritating you, great, use it. Whatever moisturizer you want that's not irritating your skin or causing redness or enlarged pores or whatever, use whatever you want. And that was kind of a learning curve for me because I came from the world of like a makeup girl who collected a ton of makeup, but also collected a ton of skincare.
Yep.
And came from, my mother was the queen of eye creams. Like there was daytime eye creams and nighttime eye creams and facial toners and moisturizers. And you know what? She, like I said, she aged fine, but she didn't age exceptionally well.
Mhm.
And she was never in the sun. She was pretty fair. Um, she worked a lot, so there wasn't a lot of vacation time for us growing up. But she aged, I would say, average, completely average. Didn't, I don't know if she ever used, I think her makeup had a sunscreen in it. I never saw her use like a dedicated sunscreen, and she certainly never used Retin A.
Mm.
And
So you just blew a lot of people's minds because
why?
because by saying it doesn't matter what cleanser you
Doesn't
use,
matter.
like my mom is, I think she has stock in Basis soap. I mean, the woman's been through like a million bars of Basis soap. She's 85, she still uses it. She has great skin. I
She loves
would
it. She should use it.
right, but I've had this talk with her like you got to get away from the bar soap. She's like,
Right.
"Why? It works for me."
Yeah.
Yeah. So cleanser really like is there anything we should know about a cleanser? Like anything before we go and buy it?
Mean, I toggle between a couple of different cleansers. I use micellar water first to remove my makeup, but I can tell you what Patrick does. He's actually sitting in the other room.
Okay.
Um, he and I, my husband and I, this will blow their minds too, have the exact same skincare routine. Like
Hmm.
we do the exact same stuff. There is no Melissa's version of skincare and Patrick's version of skincare. And a lot of women ask me, well, what does Patrick do? What should my husband do? I'm like, well, you should do what you do. I mean,
Hmm.
there's not gender specific skincare. It's not like he's gonna tan better or worse or get better or worse sun damage, or sunscreen would work better or worse or differently on him or anything like that. So I remove all my makeup with a micellar water first.
Talk about micellar water and what that is.
It's just, I don't know. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. It's a cleansing. I'm not, it's a,
Okay.
I was a model a long time ago in my youth, and it was always in every makeup artist kit. They would, after the shoot was done, they'd say, do you want to walk out looking like this? And, sometimes you have like bright purple smoky eyes, and you're like, actually, can we take this off? And that was just always in every kit. It was like the Bioderma micellar water, or, I use that as step one to get rid of makeup and sunscreen, or at least as much sunscreen as I can. And then I go back and wash my face. The cleanser I use, I have Pavis, which I just like it. I mean, there's just no rhyme or reason to it. It's a foaming facial cleanser. Prequel makes a great foaming facial cleanser. You
That's
know,
another thing. A lot of people say you shouldn't use foaming ones and you should use something else because the foaming is going to strip and make your skin even drier. And for midlife women, and when you were even talking about using
yeah.
moisturizer, I'm thinking, yeah, we feel really dry. And so,
But
it,
there's just not like a, so I learned this, first of all, long ago. And second of all, just, in doing the foundation review that I did, there's never going to be a universal anything, right? Like there's never going to be a universal cleanser for postmenopausal skin, premenopausal skin, acne. It doesn't matter. Like there's just men, women. There's just never going to be a universal product, right? There's not one foundation that works on every single skin. And I think what the problem is that women get sold on the cleanser, the
yeah,
moisturizer, the eyeliner, that whatever. I'm 47 years old. I'm actually pretty oily throughout here. Um, and I feel like I've gotten oilier as I've gotten older and not drier. But like, here and here, I'm a little bit on the dry side. My hands are always dry. So the cleanser that works for me, you could try it, Jill, and you'd be like, oh my God, I hate that. And vilify the brand and vilify the product when actually it's a great product. It's just not your product.
yeah,
And so, I think women, couple of things. One, they have a tough time for whatever reason figuring out what kind of skin they have, right? Is it dry?
yes,
Is it oily?
yes,
Is it combination? Patrick would tell you, um, very, very, very few patients that he ever sees has like clinically genetically dry skin. where your body just does not produce the sebum, and you have actually dry skin. He would tell you, and he has said to me before, you have dehydrated skin. And there's a huge
Mm.
difference there, right? Your
Yep.
body produces oil, but you've stripped it using too many exfoliants, too many actives, scrubbing your face, things like that. Your skin's not dry, it's dehydrated. And so the the rich moisturizers, like I always say, if it says rich on it, if it says triple lipid, if it says, repair, recovery, do we need that? I mean, do you have that skin? Like, is your barrier so compromised at this point that, we need a repair moisturizer on a daily basis? Like, what are we repairing? Your skin's fine.
Yeah, I think for women navigating, especially, after they go through menopause, repair is like a huge word for us, right? It's just an umbrella of we're just like in repair mode.
But what do we, but so I guess my question is always just like when people say to me, do I need a toner? I'm like, what are you toning?
Yeah.
Like, what are we toning here? Why does the skin on the rest of our body know how to tone itself?
That is such a good point,
But
Melissa.
somehow uniquely the skin on our face needs manual toning. Like, what are we toning here?
Right. I used to use rose water toner like back in the day. And was I supposed to spray it all over my body? But you're right. It was just for my face.
But why does your face not? I mean, arguably, your face has more oil glands on it than the rest of your
Hmm.
body does. So, to
Right.
me, if anything would need regulating, it would be, from the neck down because you lack the oil glands on your arms and legs and chest and whatever that you have available on your face to lubricate your skin, to help protect it, to repair it.
Hmm.
And yet, it's this right here that we're just overloading with stuff.
Yeah. You just made it a lot easier for a lot of women out there. Truthfully, I love like CeraVe. I love the basic stuff that's been around for a really long time. It's really gentle on my skin. Um, it's definitely not in a fancy, beautiful bottle sitting on top of my countertop. That's another thing. We're sold on the beauty of how things even look. Forget what's
Oh,
in the bottle. We want our whole like dresser or bathroom countertop to just look beautiful.
I don't know. I mean, I want my closet to look beautiful. Like, I don't care much about my bathroom counter. Like, I want to open my closet doors and see, where I put my money. The countertop to me,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's, this Clé de Peau foundation. I mean, this is beautiful. Like, it's pretty to look at, but it doesn't sit on my counter anyway. I mean, it sits in a bag. I think that, there's a visual aspect to it, sure. You want to look at a pretty countertop, and I don't know. To me, I would say go buy some beautiful crystal jars that you can put,
Hmm.
Q-tips and cotton swabs and cotton
Yeah,
pads in, and, if you want to really decant your hand soap into something prettier, you want to decant your moisturizer into something prettier. But, the pretty packaging in no way translates into the effectiveness of the product,
100%.
but it 100% translates into how much you're going to pay for it.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
not, there's creams out there, three, four, $500 creams out there that come in these like gorgeous packages. But at the end of the day, it's moisturizer. I mean, at the end of the day, almost everything that people send me, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Should I use this? Almost everything is some version of a moisturizer. And my
mm,
response is almost always, it's just a moisturizer.
yeah, yeah. So use what works for your skin. So we've got just a gentle cleanser, whatever works for you. And
If a foaming cleanser dries your skin out, don't use one. Buy a cream cleanser.
right.
But you don't, you don't have to use, I don't use a cream cleanser. You don't have to use one just because you've hit a certain age or a certain, point in your life. There is no rules. And I think that once women start recognizing that, like, the marketing message for the beauty industry is the universal message, right? Everyone needs this. That's how it works. Like, everybody needs it. It's how they make their money. In reality, like, very few people need very few products.
I agree. The more simple it is, the better, because then you can stay consistent. We're managing a lot of things in our life, especially going through the menopause transition. We're taking care of elderly family members. We might have a kid home from college who's still looking for a job. We, have our careers. We're starting something new, or whatever it is. We're managing a lot. To
Yeah.
me, let's just simplify skincare in the morning and the night. So in the morning, we've got just whatever cleanser floats your boat and is working for you and has worked for you for years. Don't change it if it's
I don't
working.
even wash my face in the morning.
Ah,
I
I was
almost
going to
asked him
ask you
the
that
other day,
question.
I said, am I supposed to be washing my face in the morning? And he literally looked at me and he was like, I don't care. I don't care. And he
So
was
you
like,
don't
I
have to
know.
get off all the things you put on in the evening.
Well, no, they've absorbed.
Mm.
Like they've absorbed. I mean, I don't know. No, he said to me, this is literally a couple weeks ago, because people were like, why don't you wash your face in the morning? I'm like, I don't know. I never have. And I was
I
like,
actually don't either. I
yeah.
wake up and I put my sunscreen on and I take my dog for a walk, and that's all I do until I shower and now try to apply makeup.
Yeah. I mean, I wake up in the morning. It depends on where I'm at. So, you know, I spend a lot of time in New York City. If I'm up here, it's colder and drier and things like that. So my routine looks a little bit different. Like I'll mist my face with water when I wake up, and I'll put a hydrator on, and sometimes a moisturizer, especially if it's New York and it's cold, and sunscreen. If I'm in the South, if I'm in New Orleans, you know, we joke that the air down there is so heavy, we call it air you can wear. So
Hmm.
it's just, I wake up in the morning, maybe I'll mist my face with something, and I'll put sunscreen on. You
Yeah.
know, I do tell people, if your skin will tolerate a vitamin C or some sort of antioxidant, obviously, it's a great thing to do. I don't do well with vitamin C. Um, my skin gets red from it. So I do better with, antioxidants like niacinamide, things like that. But skincare in the morning is all about protecting your skin. It's all it is. Just protecting it from the environmental elements, protecting it from the sun. You know, skincare in the evening is all about active ingredients.
Mm.
You kind of think of it that way. So if you're using an active ingredient like an exfoliant in the morning,
Hmm.
you run the risk of really damaging your skin or irritating it. But if you just split it into two, in the mornings, I protect. In the evenings, those are active ingredients. Makes things really simple.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about protecting our skin in the morning. Let's talk about sunscreen because this is another area where there are a lot of mixed messages. I've heard derms say you have to use mineral based. I've had derms say you have to use chemical based. I've had derms say you can layer them. I've had some derms say only use the ones from Europe. I only use the ones from Europe. I'm actually a melanoma survivor, and a year and a half ago I had a melanoma here. I had 100 stitches in my neck. And it wasn't from protecting my skin now, it was from my youth of not
Oh, sure.
protecting my skin.
Yeah. I mean, all this, not all the sun damage, but, significant amount of sun damage
Yeah.
that is cropping up on all of us now. And it really starts like, I swear 40 is like the greatest age ever. You turn it, and like life, like a different part of your life begins in the best way possible.
Hmm.
But then all of a sudden, so does all the sun damage comes back up, and they're like
Yeah.
just sort of reminding you of how much fun you had in your youth. Uh,
Right.
so pluses and minuses of, that aging process. Um, but the sunscreen thing, it's tough, right? So there's a million different opinions on sunscreen. I think the one thing we can all agree on, so we can start there, is that American chemical sunscreens are inferior. They just are.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when you look at any of them, and they don't, and I say this in all earnestness, some of the founders of some of these companies that make like Supergoop and things like that, they do the absolute best job they can, given the regulations that they have to stay with it, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like Supergoop is putting out an inferior product because they're choosing to. They're putting out an inferior product because our regulations are terrible, outdated, but they're doing the absolute best job that they can. I'm not anti Supergoop, because people are like, you don't like American sunscreens. I'm like, I have nothing against the companies. Like, I think they're great. I have everything against the FDA regulations on sunscreens here. So,
Yeah.
which just cuts out all of them. So I immediately just shift my focus on sunscreen to Europe, Asia, Australia. where they're far more progressive in what they consider, what they require for protection. The filters that are legal there to be used that aren't here, things like that. I say to everyone, American sunscreen, tell me if you agree, just from your experience of American sunscreen is good enough to keep you from getting sunburned,
Hmm.
right? Go out, put it on. If you're good about it, you put enough on, you're probably not going to get sunburned. It's not good enough to keep you from getting sun damage.
Agree.
It's
And here's the thing, at
simple.
our age, if you're going to go spend the money on all this other stuff, especially when we get to talking about some in-office treatments, why would you want to ruin all of that, that good money you are spending on these in-office treatments
Yeah.
and not protect your skin the best way possible? And now you can go online and you don't have to go to Europe. Although if I have a friend going to Europe, I'm always like,
Always.
here's what you need to bring me, like bring
Yeah.
me a case of this home.
Yeah.
But now we can go online and to certain websites and we can buy it. It's going to cost a little bit more, but
But
you know what?
but is it right? I can go, this is the one, I lost the lid. This is the one I used every day. Right. And people go, oh, I can get that at Target. You can't. It's the European,
Right.
same brand, different formula. Right. And as many times as I say that, I literally said that to someone today. They said, I saw ultraviolet at Sephora. Is it the same? And I'm like, well, of course it's not the same. It could never be it can't be the
Right.
same. But same brand, different formula. And the brands,
Exactly.
you know, don't do a ton to differentiate their packaging. I mean, this looks like the same stuff you can buy at Target. You
Yep.
have to know that UV Mean 400 is not available in the United States, but it's confusing to consumers. Um, but they look at, this being a $50 sunscreen to order it online. And it seems like a heavy lift. It's just like it's La Roche-Posay. It's $50. Well, it's $50 because you have to import it into the United States.
Right.
But your American sunscreens are also $50, and they're not nearly as helpful. And they're not, I mean, they're prettier. Like this is very drugstore looking, but this is so superior to anything that you're going to be able to walk into Target or walk into Sephora or Blue Mercury and purchase for yourself.
Oh, here, I'll give you another cost. The cost of removing my melanoma was $52,000,
Yep.
and my copay, my out-of-pocket expense was $4,000. So to spend a little bit more money to get it from Europe, and I know it's going to give
Yeah.
me more protection. I mean,
We
it's just
always
an,
say it's cheap to prevent, it's expensive to fix.
yep,
I
yep,
mean, this tube, if you use it as directed, you're probably going to go through this tube once a month, so maybe a little bit longer. Um, the other thing is most people don't use enough sunscreen in order, they'll buy it, they'll do one pump in their hand, or they think that there's enough sunscreen in their makeup, which there definitely is not. But Patrick goes through probably one of these a month
yep,
easily, and he'll, or if not a little bit more, the back of his neck, and men have with shorter hair have like more unique issues than women
right.
who wear their hair down. So, but people, it's incredible to me. They'll spend $300 on Augustin Spotter, the rich cream, and go, I don't know that I want to pay the tariffs for sunscreen.
No, I totally, it makes so much sense. I totally get it, right?
It's
And hopefully the woman hearing this is going to just giggle at herself about it too. Because when you take a 30,000-foot view, it's like, come on, let's put the money where it really matters. And the
because it's
sun's
not your moisturizer. I promise you.
right.
Like it is not. I can
Yeah,
take me $500 moisturizer and I could decant it and decant, CeraVe or Cetaphil or any one of those. Or I use Ombre Elise, which is like $15 in Europe.
hmm,
I think here you can get it, but it's $30. I could
hmm,
decant them into totally, separate containers. No one would know the difference. The only difference is that, the pricier, more emollient, thicker moisturizers tend to make people's pores bigger, skin redder, stuff like that.
yeah,
The lighter weight moisturizers are always friendlier to skin.
yeah, yeah. I
So
agree. Yeah. And also one thing with this sunscreen I wanted to mention is we do have a new filter that's being looked
mhm.
at to be,
Parasol,
yeah,
parasol, yeah.
to be FDA approved, which will start moving into makeup and sunscreen products in the United States. I don't know when, but it is
2026, sometime this year. I think
great.
it's a minor filter.
Yeah.
It's a small win. It won't change my opinion on European sunscreens, and
Mm.
that, it's better than nothing. So people ask a lot about Canadian sunscreens too, like, where's that? And I would say you have the US like way over here in like the Stone Ages. And you have, I think Australia actually has the strictest parameters for sunscreen and what can be considered broad spectrum and what can be, because their skin cancer rates are 1 in 3, right? And they're not,
Mhm.
and to get ahead of the, well, why are their skin cancer rates so high if they have this great sunscreen, right? Because that's usually the common argument. It's like, well, if, the sunscreens in Europe are so great, why is there still skin cancer? There's
Mhm.
having great sunscreens, and then there's still convincing people to use them,
Right.
right? There's still convincing people that the tan culture is, everything looks better with the tan, sure, for a minute, but again, down the road, and the coloring, if we go back to the history of Australia, it was settled by the English, tend to be fair haired,
Mhm.
tend to be very fair skinned, light
Mhm.
eyed, more prone to sun damage, more prone to all the problems that the sun's going to cause. So one of the reasons why we don't have better sunscreen here is amongst the FDA rules, and our classification of sunscreen as a drug rather than a cosmetic, is that, La Roche-Posay or L'Oreal owns La Roche-Posay. In order to get Mexoral 400, which is the 400 and the UV Mune 400, which they have the trademark on this one filter. In order for them to get that approved in the United States, a couple things have to happen. One, they have to agree to test on animals, and they're not going to do it. Like, ethically, it's just not where companies are at today.
Right.
Number two, they have to redo clinical trials,
Yeah.
and it's hundreds of millions of dollars. And their own market research shows that it doesn't increase the amount of Americans that would actually use sunscreen. So the profit's not there for them. So it's not worth their time to do it.
Yeah. Well, so we just need a lot more education on skincare,
We need
preventative skincare.
education. We need, you know, the laws in this country, but it's slow moving. You know, People always say, do you think we'll ever get there? And I'm like, yeah, I do. It's going to take 10 more years or 15 more years to get there. But I think eventually we'll get there. But I'm not using a subpar American sunscreen in until we get there.
Yeah, I would agree. I buy all of this for my kids. And, I have 5 kids and they're all adults now, and they're not wearing sunscreen every day. There's only,
My
you can
son never
only,
wears it.
I wish that I could. They watched me go through my surgery and the fear, and that still wasn't enough for them. And so, we just have to continue pushing it and talking about it, and hopefully it's going to catch on one day. I want to circle back to now our evening routine before we move on to makeup, because you were saying how the AM is about protection. We talked
Yeah.
about the sunscreen and all the other things. And then now we're at the evening routine, which is about the actives. And you mentioned retinol. And this is another area that is really confusing for women. Um, and so I was hoping you could just break down what are all of the options for women when it
Uh,
comes to retinol?
so you have over the counter versions all the way to prescription grade, right? You have, and I'm probably should have had a chart in front of me on the so I'll go with products, right? Because that's what I get asked about all the time. So the very, very like sort of weakest end of the product from the over the counter point of view is something like A313, which is you can get at a French pharmacy. Kind of went viral on TikTok a couple of years ago. Everybody wanted it. It was like the thing to do. People would send it to me. Do I need to stop using Retin-A and start using this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like Retin-A is all the way over here. A313 is all the way over here in terms of strength. And then you have retinols. So ends in OL, retinals. And then you start getting into prescription grade, tretinoin, trazotine, stuff like that. So tretinoin is going to be your cheapest option. It's your strongest option and your cheapest option. So
The prescription option.
yeah, first. So Amazon Pharmacy will fill a tretinoin prescription for $16. And, or you can go into the over the counter route. There's every company sells a retinol or retinal at this point, anywhere between, $50, $20 to I've seen $250 retinols. A retinol ending in OL is going to be next in line. And it's probably the more common over the counter one that you see out there. It's going to be a little bit on the irritating side. It's on the weaker side for an over the counter product. A retinal, so Medigate makes a great retinal. I think Prequel came out with a retinal. They're stronger than retinols and less irritating, but less irritating. They tend to be more expensive though. And then you move into your prescription grade, tretinoin, tirazetine, which those are two different types of products. They work on different receptors of the skin. The outcome is pretty much the same in terms of like results.
What are these doing for our skin anyway? And when should we start them?
So we're always taught that, skin cells turn over every 30 days, right? Like that's just kind of the thing. And they do when you're like 16. But as we get older, the turnover slows down. You start seeing like the sallow skin, the wrinkles, all of that. The sun damage, you're not shedding off because your skin cells no longer turn over every 30 days. They, 45 days, 60 days, et cetera, et cetera. So that's when people start complaining like my skin looks dull. I need to scrub at it. I need an exfoliant. But really what you need to do is speed that skin cell turnover back up, right? So enter these products. That's what they do. So the stronger the product you use, the more effective it is at doing that. What they're doing ultimately, it's all the things that people complain about, right? It's, fine lines, wrinkles and sunspots. And is it going to totally fix your sun damage? Not in a million years. You need pigmentation products. Some of us have pigment issues that are so bad they need lasers. Then you've got melasma and you've got, all sorts of things. But Retin-A in concert with other things like tyrosine inhibitors, things like that, super effective for your skin. Like if you want skin that looks like this at 47, this is Retin-A every single night. I do not miss a night ever, for the past almost decade. When do you start using it? Oh man. Patrick told me we were dating. Sorry, I fidget a lot with my hair. It's been pointed out to me many times. Patrick and I started dating when I was 31. And he mentioned at 31, when I was 31, that I should start using Retin-A. And I was just like, that doesn't seem interesting. I don't want to do that every day. I got really into peels in my 30s because that seemed interesting to me. You could do it just once a month and, seemed like a more interesting option. And then as I was starting to chase 40, I had been a smoker for a really long time. I smoked for 22 years. And I was like a pack a day smoker.
Wow.
And he'd said to me at some point, I'm not going to be able to fix what you're doing to your skin with that. And I was never a big sun person, but I was a big smoker. And so closing in on 40, I think I was 37, 38. I was like, oh, this looks terrible. And he said, well, I've been telling you for years, Melissa, like there's just this one little tube. It's all you need to do. And so I kind of caved and gave in. And the transformation was so big, and it doesn't do anything to fix laxity. It doesn't do anything to fix jowls. It doesn't do anything to fix that, but it does everything to deal with fixing skin quality. I would say my skin quality today is better at 47 than it was at 35.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you have beautiful skin. I use it. My mom at 85 uses it. My daughter at 29 uses it. So
good for her. I wish I
yeah.
could go back in time. I tell everyone if I could do one thing, just go back in time.
We're all on different strengths of it. I think I use a really strong strength and I can use it every night and my skin is not sensitive to it at all. I could probably go stronger. But yeah, it is. I've been using it for a few years and I've really noticed a difference.
It's the ultimate fountain. If you told me today I could pick one product forever, I wouldn't even pick sunscreen. I would pick Retin-A.
You hear that, ladies? Retin-A.
I mean,
Okay,
definitely use your sunscreen, but if you told me I get one forever,
right.
it would be
That's the
retin-A.
one.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
be an over the counter. You want to use,
And the Retin-A is not to be put on in the morning.
no, it
It's
makes you sensitive to the sun. Morning
right,
is to protect your skin.
right. Always at night. Okay.
Always at night.
So now
Always.
there's topical estriol cream, and this is a there's a big push out there for women in menopause to use this topical
Yeah.
cream. What are your thoughts or and what are Patrick's thoughts on it?
I use one. I use Alloy's
So do I.
cream around my eyes. I don't use an estrogen face cream. Uh, I used to, and my melasma just blew up.
Hmm.
And they say there's no link. I don't believe them because I had really bad. I had melasma off and on, but nothing like what had happened a couple of years ago when I was using it all over my face, and just my whole face was just one big
Hmm.
mottled brown mess. And so I backed off of it. Hence, that was actually what sparked the whole thing behind the Coleman compound was this unbelievable mess that had become my face from using
Hmm.
estrogen cream. And so
Wait, tell us about the Coleman compound because now that I follow you, I've been seeing a lot of pictures that you post of before and after pictures. And I just want to say one thing about the estriol cream. I've been using it for probably 2 years now. I don't know if it's making any difference for me at all, and I
yeah,
just feel better using it because I already have a base of nice skin. So, I'm actually considering not using it anymore because I have the tretinoin in, because I want to simplify. Less is going to be more for me.
yeah. Um, there's some arguments. There's some pros and cons out there on the creams. Like
Yeah.
I've seen some feedback from dermatologists and some cosmetic chemists out there that say that, fundamentally it doesn't really do anything. Alloy has its own set of studies. Ellen
Right.
Gendler's a long-term believer in estrogen creams. Um, Patrick's kind of plus minus on it, as long as it obviously would never hurt anyone. I don't know that he doesn't usually write them in office. It's kind of a shoulder shrug from him, and he'll send you to Alloy or Muesli or something like that if you're really interested in it. Um, I talk to women who say, "Oh my gosh, it was life changing," and then I talk to women who are like, "I don't know, I'm on my like fourth one, and it's whatever. I'm not sure I can tell any difference."
Yeah, that's how I
Um,
feel.
you know, I would I would say if it's something that you use and you understand that it's not a days and weeks to see results, but months to years.
Hmm.
And you want to put the money towards that. It's certainly not going to harm you, and you want to just see, go for it.
Yeah,
If you're like, look, it's $90 over 3 months, and I'd rather put that towards a moisturizer or
that we
lip
don't
gloss
need.
or lip gloss or European sunscreen.
Right.
I don't know that I think that it's essential for a woman.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Coleman compounds before we move on to makeup.
Home Compound is a cream that we sell, and there's similar versions of it on the marketplace, but our particular formula is proprietary to just Patrick Coleman. It is an arbutase cream that works on evening tone of skin. So, whatever you start thinking of, brown. It doesn't really address red in any way, although people do swear that their red gets better. And I'm like, I don't, that is luck. That is something like that's something else going on. Its entire goal is just to work with brown. So
So when you say brown, do you mean like I have like little brown spots from aging, maybe from sun damage? Is that what it works on?
that's I have women that, obviously for me, the catalyst for this cream was this horrible bout of melasma that I had, and it took 10 months to clear it. For other women who don't have melasma, they have, sun damage or, sunspots or whatever, they've found it to be incredibly helpful. Um,
Interesting.
all of the photos that I get, and Patrick always says you're like the worst salesperson on earth for this product, Melissa, because I get so excited to see these women's before and afters that they send me. We don't ever ask for them. We just, we hope that people
Right.
love the product and they send photos in. And I'll just post people's photos. And then my entire inbox of newer followers are like, what is she using? And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even say. I just posted the picture because he was like, you should probably talk about, he said, because you spend your evening answering people going, oh, it's this. He said, you should probably just mention what it is. And I'm like, I don't know. These women are so proud of their skin and they were so, the amount of like notes I get, just I hide my face and I never let my photo be taken and my skin looked terrible. And I had this, mustache or, these patches over my eye and I don't even wear makeup anymore. You know, it's just been such an unbelievable response to a product. And, we changed the formula a year ago to be uniquely proprietary, to Coleman Cosmetic. And the results were even better, you know. And any active ingredient can cause irritation to the skin, any active ingredient. But this one, people's skin was calmer, it was more effective, they were happier, they were getting results sooner. And it's just been like, who knew that me having a mess of a face would would help so many other women? But it's been remarkable.
Yeah,
And
it's amazing. My daughter-in-law, after she had her baby 7 months ago, her melasma really flared up. So I just showed her about the product for her to get. So, it's really helpful to share the
oh, send me
journey.
pictures. I love
Yeah, I will for sure.
that
100%.
whole thing. It's like I just want to see the pictures.
Yeah. I want to pivot to makeup um, because this is the crux of the podcast for me personally. Asking for a friend, it's really me. But there's lots of women who, when they knew I was bringing you on to talk about makeup, and I'm sharing my makeup journey with people as well, because, like I said in the beginning, this is so not intuitive to me.
Right.
So I want to talk about like when women I want to speak to the woman like me who's just getting started or who really hasn't changed her makeup in like, 20, 30 years. The women who are on it, awesome. You guys look absolutely gorgeous and are rocking it, but I'm not talking to you right now. I'm talking to the women like me who really want to understand how to do this in an easy, um, efficient, effective, and affordable way, right? Like I listened to you do your review on tinted moisturizers. And so I tried a few of them and they're not inexpensive, but
No.
what really stood out to me was how they felt on my skin. And I think that that's the reason why I haven't worn makeup is because the way it all used to feel on my skin was really heavy and cakey, and so uncomfortable that is what made me not interested
Yeah.
in makeup. So
Well, I think they've gotten a lot more skincare forward
yeah,
today, like foundations and tinted skin tints and things like that, incorporating more skincare type ingredients into them to make them lighter. I think that's been a huge shift in foundations rather than the days of like the cakey pan makeups or the powdered foundations that, are great when you're young, but if you're, I would say over 45, your days of that are long gone.
so for the woman who we've done whatever we've done in the morning, we've washed our face, we've put on our sunscreen, and now we're ready to apply makeup. What is step one? Because I've seen you do a primer and a
Yeah.
tinted moisturizer, and I've seen you not do the primer and just do the tinted moisturizer.
Um, I think for me, it depends a little bit on how my day is going to roll, right? I find a lot of people are going to say a primer is not necessary. And in a lot of cases, it might not be necessary, right? Um, I think that oftentimes if you live in sort of a weather extreme, a primer is nice. So if you live somewhere really cold and dry, a hydrating primer that your makeup is going to adhere to a little bit better can be really helpful. You live somewhere really hot and humid, where your makeup has a tendency to kind of slide off your face due to the heat and humidity. A primer can be kind of nice. You live somewhere that's kind of climate neutral. I don't know that, you absolutely need one. Um, I do think, when I tested the Hermes one,
Mm-hmm.
um, it comes with, well, it doesn't come with, they sell it alongside their primer. And I think all in it's 250 bucks for both of them. I tested the Hermes one without its primer. It's just okay. So like, in Hermes's case, they made a really, really beautiful product, but they made a really beautiful product that needs its sister in order to
So
be.
the primer is clear, and the only job of the primer is to help the tinted moisturizer
So I only
stick to
tested
it.
one tinted moisturizer.
Hmm.
Everything else that I tested was a skin tint, which was like either a really sheer, kind of what you would consider to be like a sheer foundation, um, to some heavier foundations. I tested one tinted moisturizer from U Beauty.
Wait, I bought
Yeah,
it.
it's beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Not that I have a lot to compare to, but I really
It's a
it
it's
felt
a
good.
yeah, it's a really pretty product. It's all it's out of 10, 10 being full coverage, one being the sheerest coverage possible. It's a one.
Yeah.
But if that's all you want, it's a great product. Do you need a primer underneath it? Probably not. You just need a sunscreen underneath it. But because I think its foundation is that of a moisturizer, you also wouldn't use a moisturizer that morning. It really
Right.
would really do the work of
Right.
this in that case. Whereas when you start getting into skin tints and things like that, again, kind of climate dependent, right? I don't use moisturizers in the mornings in New Orleans ever. I didn't use one this morning either because it's hot out today.
Hmm.
And so the more layers of stuff you're putting on your face, the more likelihood that your makeup's going to fail.
Now I tried the Jones Road because you had recommended that one, or me,
I
or you
like
were,
it.
yeah. So I didn't like it. I thought, first of all, I didn't like how it was so thick coming out of
Yeah,
the tube or
the
whatever.
dropper.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
didn't like the thickness of that. I thought it was really hard to, the way they sell it is it's not supposed to go all over your skin. It's just like here and there and this.
Mhm.
Okay, for a beginner, like here and there ain't gonna work. Like I'm either all in or I can't do it.
Okay.
So I didn't really love that one, but I was also wondering, I love the U Beauty, but it's expensive for a lot of people. And what would be your favorite U Beauty dupe that's a lot less expensive?
I didn't test one. So
Mm.
I tested one. I'm not a tinted moisturizer girl. For as a general rule, I like a little bit more coverage. I want because I think of myself a little bit as a makeup kind of a makeup girl. Um, I like I want a little bit more coverage that creates sort of an even canvas. Um, Laura Mercier has well been known to have one of the best tinted moisturizers on the planet. Also, it's just as easy to take. Oh my gosh, I have so much foundation. Here's the Tom Ford one. It's just as easy to take this and put a tiny quarter pump into your moisturizer and
Ah,
and just
okay.
create your own. So if we want to, if Victoria Beckham, which was started in my yes pile and didn't make it through, but she does like the little foundation drops. If you wanted to take your moisturizer and just add a drop or two and just create your own, just do that. I don't know that the U Beauty product is beautiful. I'll finish it 100%. I thought of it as like the product that if I were to wear makeup on a plane, and I don't usually, but if I were going somewhere and I had to land and immediately, you know, get to a meeting or to a thing, that the U Beauty product would be the perfect travel,
Mm.
tinted moisturizer if you were flying because it's super hydrating and there's a little bit of coverage there.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
like again, it's kind of like with skincare, like we don't need, you know, I ended up with 11 foundations that I liked. And I was like, nobody needs 11. Like, no one needs 5 foundations. But
Right.
you don't need a ton of different foundations. You can take something like this or something like this or whatever, add a drop of it to your moisturizer and call it a day.
That's such a great cheat,
Yeah.
right? The product's going to go longer. So if you're spending a little bit more money, it's going to last you longer. And you're getting the feel from the moisturizer that you already know you like, plus a little tint of the color. So I love that. That's a great idea. Um, okay, so once you have your tinted moisturizer or your foundation on, and I don't think I'm a foundation person. I'm not ready for foundation. I've had makeup done professionally for TV,
Mhm.
and that is a
So
totally,
different though,
yeah.
right? Like I've had for photography, I've had makeup done for photography, and it's wild because you can look at the photos and go, gosh, it's so natural looking.
Hmm.
And there was so much makeup on my face
Yes.
that like you could scratch your face off and like your face was actually like,
Yeah.
smaller. There was so much makeup on, but to look at a photo, it looked so, people were like, oh my gosh, your makeup's so natural. And I'm like, I cannot tell you how much I had on. Like
Yeah.
an unbelievable amount of makeup.
Yeah. Good lighting and a good photographer. It's all
Absolutely.
magic. Totally.
Absolutely. And a good makeup artist who can
Yes.
pile it all on, because you're going to be in professional lighting and make it seem like there was nothing there.
Yeah. So I've also noticed after you put on whatever you're doing, the foundation or the tinted moisturizer, then I noticed you did another step of a bronzer around
Mhm.
like the frame in certain areas. I don't do that, and I'm kind of scared to do that. It seems like another layer of stuff. But what's the point of that? And why do you love that for yourself? And why should
Why are
someone
you
like
scared?
myself try it out?
Well, why not just try it, right? So, one of the coolest things that I think that came out of COVID, if we can say anything cool came out of COVID, was I remember Bethany Frankel was like stuck at
Hmm.
home in New York or Connecticut or wherever it was that she lived. And she was bored out of her mind. I mean, you could just tell,
Yeah.
like, whether you're a fan of hers or not, doesn't matter to me. She was bored out of her mind. You could just climbing the walls, being stuck inside. And she decided that she was just going to learn how to do her makeup. And her whole TikTok platform
Yeah.
started from her just pile of stuff and eyeshadow palettes and brushes and foundations and things like that, and just figuring out what worked for her and like how to do her makeup. And so I don't know that any product is, anyone should be scared of it's a bronzer, right? Like it's not a weapon, it's a bronzer. I put bronzer around the perimeter of my face. It's a tip that Quinn Murphy, who's a big celebrity makeup artist and a good friend of mine, when he did my makeup, that's what he did. And I paid attention to what he was doing. And he just put it sort of around the perimeter of my face. And I said, why? And he said, well, we don't need to carve out cheekbones on you. You have cheekbones. We can see your
Hmm.
cheekbones. He said, but, it adds a little bit of warmth to the face. And
So how do you pick the color for you?
um, well, I think that you warm toned or cool toned, right? So you're warm toned. Um, it, he and I actually did recorded a fun piece on this. It's kind of easy, here's how you tell if you're warm toned or cool toned. It usually comes from eye color. A lot of people, I mean, I can look at my skin and see that, I have a lot of yellow undertones to my skin, so I'm warm, right? Yellow is a warm color. People that are like, you see a picture of my husband, he's very cool toned. It's very pale, pink, a lot of pink undertones. But, is your hair gold? Do you have any gold in your hair? Or red in your hair or anything like that? If you do, your foundations are going to be warm toned. All of your makeup is going to be warm toned. If
I find it very helpful when you go to a makeup site and they have a test and then they show lots of different models with different skin tones because I didn't know I was warm. It was,
you're a redhead.
yeah, like strawberry blonde. I used to be. Now, of course, I have to use color because I'm
I mean,
really
you're
a gray
automatically,
head.
yeah, you're automatically warm.
Ah, okay.
If you have, even if, you have pale skin with pink undertones and gray eyes, I mean, ultimately, if your hair is warm, you are warm.
Do you remember the little kids clothing brand called Garanimals? And you matched like the top which had an animal on the tag, to the bottom, which had an animal on the tag, and you matched like the
No,
giraffe to the giraffe. You don't remember that?
no, I
Okay.
don't.
It was genius. Okay. For people like me, it's like, okay, you match the seal with the seal, the beer with the beer, and like that was the outfit. If makeup manufacturers and companies could do this for women like me and say,
Yeah.
here's all the warm tone, here's your pile. Okay, don't worry about the other piles. This is the pile you want to stay in. My God, it'd be such a game changer.
So I think that, A, they're never going to do that because they're going to sell the universal, right? Like
Right.
everybody needs this. So that's not going to happen. But, they do it to a degree. If there's a W in the foundation color, it's warm. If there's an N in the foundation color, it's neutral. If there's a C, it's cool,
Mm,
right? So people are always like, how did you nail your color with these foundations every single time? And I was like, well, I'm fair, right? I think women, you know, we look at ourselves in the mirror every single day, right? But do we like, I don't know that we really look at ourselves in the mirror every single day. Cause I have women that are like, how do you know what body type you have? I'm like, how do you not know what body type you have? Like, if you do big, large breasts or small, are your shoulders narrow or
mhm.
wide?
Oh,
Do you
you
have,
know for sure.
so how do you know if you're warm toned or cool toned? Look in the mirror, like, do you have gold or red in your hair? Are your eyes a warm brown? Are they green? If you have blue eyes, you probably lean, unless you have gold in your hair, you probably lean more cool.
Mm,
You can look at celebrities that have your coloring, at least, that don't necessarily look like you, but have your coloring, and say, you know, I definitely match them from a coloring point of view.
mhm,
Um, so, are you fair? Sure. I'm fair. I'm not the fairest, but I definitely, have a fair skin tone. And so picking a color, it's like, well, I'm not going to be the fairest because I do have some, my family's Greek. And so there is some pigment to my skin. And I'm definitely warm. So it really narrows it down, right? So we're going to eliminate anything with an N after it. We're going to eliminate anything with a C after it. I'm going to eliminate any number one. I'm never going to be number one because it's the fairest.
mhm,
I'm never going to be probably not a number two either. And so usually I'm like a three. So it's a fairly safe bet to pick 3W.
mhm.
And most foundations now, let's see if this Tom Ford one does. Not really. The Hermes one does.
Yeah,
Seven. This,
they're all numbered. I noticed
they're all
that.
numbered and they have a
Mhm.
name. So this is
Yeah,
vanille, but it says 17W.
yeah.
So when you go to Hermes's site, the 17 is a couple of shades in. I think it starts in the single digits. So this would be like the equivalent of like a three to me. And so I think first, it's super, makeup is easy. Figure out what skin tone you are, right? Figure out how fair you are. Most of us as we get older and try harder to clean up rosacea, clean up sun damage. So we're in a pretty pale, right?
Mhm.
Figure out those two things and then eliminate everything else in your path. Like, I don't care if you love pale gray. If you are a warm skin tone person, do not buy that pale gray eyeshadow. Like,
Mhm.
don't do it. Don't buy blue. It's not going to work on you. And so once you sort of eliminate, I'm definitely not these colors, I'm definitely not this undertone, it gets much easier to pick out makeup. And then from there, you just play.
So if I was to do a bronzer,
Mhm.
because this is the thing, I did the tinted moisturizer, but I still feel like I'm not finished, right? So do you do the bronzer? Do you do blush? Can you just do blush and not the bronzer? Like if I want to,
Absolutely.
yeah, if I want to feel like finished though, the tinted moisturizer usually is just not going to be enough. That's just meant to kind of even out your color. So
Yeah, it gives you kind of a canvas to work from.
yes. So with the next step, if I didn't want to do two things, if I don't want to do a bronzer and a blush, which is the easier one?
Whichever one you want. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's just not a lot of rules here, right? So
Hmm.
I know a lot of people who don't use bronzers at all. Um, and I know the exact opposite, right? So if I had to pick one for me personally, no. I might, I don't know. I would probably pick a bronzer
Really?
just because it adds some warmth to the face, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
but I don't have to pick one or the other. And I mean, it's one extra step. It takes 10 seconds to put on blush. So if you put a bronzer on, it's not, it's not a heavy lift to add a blush if you want to wear one. But I know plenty of people who just wear blush and they don't wear bronzer. Their skin tone wouldn't dictate that, a bronzer, if you have a medium skin tone, you're kind of tan to begin with. If you're Italian, you're going to choose a blush, but there's no either or. Like there's no right or wrong answer to that. If you prefer the look of a blush and you only want one step past foundation, pick a blush.
Hmm.
If you
Okay.
prefer the warmth of a bronzer, and you don't want to mess with blush colors and things like that, you don't have to. I think women can tend to make this very they sort of over engineer the idea of makeup,
A
right?
100%. I mean, I over
Like
engineer most parts of my life, so it's just
like
natural
it's
that
just
I'm,
not that big of a deal. Like
yeah.
you put on your face, whatever your definition of finished is, like to me, my definition of finished is not finished until there's some sort of shimmer on me.
Mm.
That's finished to me,
Mm-hmm.
but that's me. And I would never look at you and go, oh my gosh, her makeup's not finished because she doesn't have the Dior Forever Glow. Like, I would never think that. I would just
Mm-hmm.
think that
Mm-hmm.
for me to put my best face forward, what I feel prettiest, how I feel the most confident, there's always going to be a pretty shimmer right there. Always. My friend Quinn is like, you are the shimmer queen. And Melissa, I'm like, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the tip of my nose. It's on the bow of my lip. It's right there. It's just, and
Is
to
the
me,
shimmer built into a product for you? Is it built into your
oh, it's a,
blush?
oh, I'm like a multi-step person. That's probably my
It's a
favorite
separate.
one. Yes. I've got more shimmer powder than anybody I've ever met in my entire life. Coleman, Dior. I mean, I could literally have a drawer of shimmer powder and I'll
Okay,
take it.
I think you have a new
See?
Instagram thing to do, a shimmer drop.
Yeah. See, you're just going to put it
Hmm.
there. I mean, I have some on, so now we're just making a mess. But like, you can just run it over inner corners of your eye. I mean, there's just no rules to this.
Hmm.
Like you do, and if you paint with your finger, it's kind of hard to mess it up. But like
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
me, this is now more finished to me.
And what is that product you're using?
That was Givenchy's new shimmer powder. This is Dior's one that there's Patrick. There's Dior. This one's Dior's one, and they have like 10 colors, and I think I own all 10.
So for a beginner, how would you ease into a shimmer product if somebody wanted to do that?
Um,
What's your, this is the one a beginner should start with.
I mean, the liquid ones are going to be a little bit messier, you
Okay, so
know,
powder.
no powder, and like take like the Givenchy one. They have 4 new ones. I bought 3 out of the 4. This is curly gold. You just like ends up on your finger and just dot it around. I would never get it under your eye, right? But like down the bridge of your nose, tip of your chin, less is
Hmm.
more. Just like again, I would tell every woman if you're not used to makeup, get a ring light, get
Hmm.
a coffee table, get a mirror,
Hmm.
buy some makeup. Just buy some makeup. Like it can be drugstore, it can be expensive, whatever's in your budget. Buy all the things that you're like, I don't know what this is, but I want to play with it. And just go play with it. You will
Okay.
figure out you don't need to go buy the most expensive brushes in the world. You don't need to go buy the most expensive makeup in the world. But because there is no one universal look, right? I'm blonde hair, sort of medium light skin tone, green eyes, right? You and I have a very different palette.
Hmm.
Interestingly, though, the colors that work on me would also work on you.
Hmm.
But that's not true of everyone. If you had dark hair and bright blue eyes and really pale skin, it's an entirely different palette.
Right.
But just no one's gonna, to this day, I screw up a wing liner every time I try to do it. I can't do it. Like I
Hmm.
cannot do it. I have given up. I don't care. It's not for me. It's
Yeah.
not something I feel
I'm
comfortable doing.
I
And
agree. I'm not an eyeliner person either, mostly because my hand shakes and I can't do, like I just can't hold it still enough. But your technique on putting on mascara last week when you said it was a shimmy and a like just a I do that now and it looks better and I'm
it's so
so
good.
happy.
But like, no one taught me that, right? I just
Yeah.
thought, I just figured out that when I put mascara here on the inside of my eyes, I look tired. Everyone's like, why are you so tired? And I was like, when I focus on mascara just being here, this is like my favorite right now. That you say, Laurent, just being on the outside of my eye and doing that and just dragging it outward, it kind of gives the appearance of like a wing.
And which product is that?
Saint Laurent's, I think it's like the latex something.
So now you've given us some great pointers on makeup, and I just love your no one size fits all. There's no rules here. I always thought there were rules. I thought
Yes,
there were
none.
absolute rules. Eyeshadow went on a specific way, everything went on a specific way, but I'm gonna play. I am dedicated to my journey of just having fun with this because if it's not fun, I'm definitely not gonna be doing it. So I really love that. Now it all has to come off. Do you have any, you said the micellar water you use, any
Derm. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got to get the makeup off. You've got to get your face clean in the evening. You've got to do your PM with your actives if you want to, right? So we
Yep.
have that.
No. You pay with your actives. This is non-negotiable. You have to do it.
Yeah. Not as important in the morning except for sun production, but at night, this is where you want to
The
do the
only thing that
actives.
matters is the
Yeah.
only thing that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for anyone who's like, I don't like how my skin is aging and I'm getting older. If a retin-A or tretinoin is not on your list of things that you do, my response is usually, I'm sure you do not like your skin.
Yeah.
You have to use
Yeah.
it. You have to use some.
Yeah.
If retin-A is too strong, pick an over-the-counter product, but you have to use something. You have to.
Yeah.
That rule, I believe in that. I will die on that hill.
Yeah. Well, Melissa, this has been an unbelievable conversation. It has been completely helpful for me,
Thank
and
you.
I know it will be for so many women. We have so many more questions left, but I'm going to have you back for a part two when we
I
can
would love
talk
it.
about like in-office treatments and all the bullshit around what we're being sold and what really
Mm,
works. But thank you so much for
you're
coming
so
on
welcome.
and sharing your experience, your expertise, and just your love of helping women because
Try.
it really comes shining through. You're really dedicated to your audience and tell everyone where they can find you,
At Mrs. Derm.
aka Mrs. Derm on Instagram.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It was great to meet you. And
Okay.
everyone, thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Lifestyle changes can be hard and overwhelming to make. By building your support team of functional medicine doctors, therapists, and health coaches, you can reach your optimal health goals. Be sure to check out my other podcasts. Until we meet again, stay healthy.